Hey everyone, it's Mark David Heiser from Dag Did You Win? And on April 23rd, 2023, I had the opportunity to pace the Glass City Marathon in Toledo, Ohio. This is the second time I've ran this marathon, first time since 2018. So today what I'm going to be sharing with you are stories from pacing, as well as how pacing went in general, and how I feel about pacing this race in the future. So come along and let's discuss it. So as I said, Glass City Marathon was held in Toledo, Ohio on April 23rd, 2023. Race morning, very cool morning. We were in the upper 30s. I believe by the end of the race, we were probably in the mid 40s. So it never really got that warm. The the race itself, really, they did a great job. For pacers, what they do is they have you come to the expo the day before. You get your packet as usual. For most people who were pacing, they had not registered early. If you registered by a certain date, I believe it's November 1st or something like that, or maybe it's the end of November, you got, for the marathon only, you got this jacket to wear, which is really nice jacket. In fact, let me just remove this because underneath then is also the race shirt. Basically, if you paced, you got both items. Whether you registered in time for the jacket or not, they ensured that pacers got their jackets as well. And like I said, this is just a really nice jacket with a lot of nice ventilation here on the back. So very nice item. Once again, I talked in the pacing videos earlier that a lot of times as pacers, they maybe you get some extra swag. One thing that you will normally get when pacing is a specific shirt or singlet to wear while running. This is what they gave us this year, is a bright orange singlet. It is from and basically has a race logo there around the chest, and along with the race date down below that, and pacer on the back. Just says pacer, easy to identify you out on the course, especially as runners are coming up, if they do not see the sign. The sign that they also gave us at the expo was actually one of the smaller ones. The sign itself was large, but the stick, the handle was not, and so it's actually really easy to carry as a pacer. So I do appreciate that. But they gave us both of those things at the expo for us to use during the race. So the women's singlet was not orange, it was white. No real explanation on why they went different, but that's okay. So anyways, back to race morning. And this is probably the only mistake I made on the morning, to be honest with you. I arrived a little later than I planned on. So a little bit of background for this race. Elected to camp. I was camped at a state park probably about 30 minutes away from the University of Toledo where the race actually started. So I woke up at 5 o'clock. The race started at 6:30, I believe it was. And so I woke up, I was out the door, ready to run, ready to get in my car at about 5:15, and arrived on campus about 5:45. So it was about half an hour drive for me. The bad thing was that most of the parking was on the south end of campus. For one thing, that's also where the football stadium is, where it finished. So I just set my car up right to be by the finish line so that I could leave as soon as I needed to after the race. But unfortunately, that meant I had to walk clear across to the north end of campus. And I probably got to the starting line area around 6 o'clock. Doesn't sound too bad until you factor in, trying to use the porta potties and everything else, get to gear check and everything. I made it in my corral probably about 6:20. And typically you want to be in your corrals much earlier than that. I have my co-pacer. She was texting me beforehand or sending me messages, just letting me know that she was there and ready to go. And I had to say, hey, I'll be there in a minute. I got stuck in a line for the bathrooms. And unfortunately, it all worked out, but I would have liked to have gotten into the corral much earlier than what I did. So that was probably my only mistake of the morning. So with the Toledo Marathon and the way that they started us in waves. So we were actually in the third wave, and it just so happened that with being the 4 hour and 10 minute pacer, we were the first people in wave 3. So this is the first time actually when pacing I have had a clear shot at the beginning where there wasn't that many people. There's about a minute and a half in between. And if you ran playing marathons, you know how a lot of people line up. They just line up, get wherever they can. And a lot of times, sometimes it's maybe they want to get going as soon as they can, but they don't line up where they should, meaning that they ended up lining up at a much faster pace than what they're actually going to run. So yes, there's about a minute and a half stretch where there wasn't anybody running from the start line to the back of the previous wave, but you know you're going to be catching up to people. So we did get started. We had a nice clear stretch of road to begin as a pacer. It was nice to be able to get into that groove right away. However, as I said, it didn't take us long to catch up, but it did give us an opportunity to really get into a groove right away and be able to get right on pace. And for the 410 pace group, we were looking to average 9:32 per mile. Obviously, that's if you're able to run the tangents exactly as you would like. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So anything really between a 9:28 to 9:32 was going to be good. And so for the first mile, 9:29, we got into that groove right away. Felt really good. And then the second mile was that even a little bit faster, but only 9:28. So we are already setting ourselves up for a great morning, and we are right on pace. After that, we had actually a downhill mile. And this is what I mean. This is what I was explaining in one of the other videos, is that when you have a downhill mile, they want you to run as even as possible, but realizing that some hills are going to be downhill, some miles are going to be uphill. And you don't want to waste the downhill miles as well. So we actually ended up running, because mile 3 was predominantly downhill mile, we ended up running a 9:06 mile. I just told the people around us, don't worry about it. You don't want to waste this opportunity, but at the same time, you don't want to also sprint down the hill either. You just want the hill just to gradually take you down and let the hill do the work for you, especially in a long race like a marathon. So those are the first 3 miles. The next 3 were actually 9:23, 9:29, and 9:30. So we are still really on a good pace at that point. Everything is going very well for us. As I said, and this is going to go to the first story that I have from this marathon. It was cold. It was in the upper 30s, and we actually had a woman, and I'm not going to name names. I don't want to embarrass anybody. We had a woman from Florida who ditched her jacket at mile 2. It was looked like a very thick, like almost like wool jacket that she had on, and she decided to ditch it. Well, about mile 5 and 6, she was complaining about getting cold, and she was actually worried about hypothermia. Being from Florida, she's not used to the cooler temperatures that we had been training in. And so right about mile 6, a little bit before mile 6, she found it was probably an extra large size red hooded sweatshirt that she picked up off the ground that another runner, I'm sure, had ditched and decided not to wear anymore. So she grabbed it, threw it on. And I don't know if this contributed to it or not, but right after we crossed the 10K timing mat, she hit and the roads were great. I didn't have to yell out potholes or anything very much at all, just once in a while. But she found a crack in the road, and she biffed it. It was one of the scarier moments that I've seen in a marathon, because when she didn't see the crack, I don't know if the sweatshirt, with how large it was on her, was getting in the way or not, but she tripped and arms went out, and her forehead just nailed the pavement. She didn't have any time to get her arms out to catch her fall or anything. And we saw her just go down hard. I basically just gave the pacing sign to my partner. I told her to go ahead, keep the pace going. And at that point, it was my job to get this runner, making sure she's able to get up, get her off the road, off to the side, and get her on the curb. got her in that position to the curb, and I was very surprised to see that there was no blood. She was not bleeding at all. And then all of a sudden another woman comes from the other side of the road and just tells me, "Hey, I'm a doctor. I just happen to be on the other side of the road. You go ahead," telling me to go ahead and run. And so once I assured that the situation was okay and there's nothing really other than a big bump on her head, that she would be okay with the doctor there. A block or two up at the next turn, I did see a sheriff. I alerted him of what was going on so that he can get the proper people there as well. He actually ended up running back to her. And then I also saw a medic on a bike about another block ahead, and told him, and he rode his bike back. All this to say, though, I did catch up then with our pacing group. They were all obviously very concerned about how this runner was doing, how she was feeling. And I said, there's no blood, there's just a bump, and that proper people were there taking care of her. So that's where we left it. And I think, mile 7, with everything that went on in that mile, we ended up running a 9:11. I did catch him before the mile marker, so I did get a split of 9:11. Once again, probably a little fast, but there's a lot of emotions I think going on with everybody, and so we all kind of got caught up. Mile 8, 9:27. We're back in where we need to be. Mile 9, and I think this is where it happened. Either happened in mile 8 or mile 9. We are all running. We're still talking about what happened back there at the 10K mile marker with the fellow runner who went down. And right when we stopped talking about it, all of a sudden we just heard this voice that we had recognized from earlier. And there she was. She had caught back up to us. She got cleared to run. She said, I just have a bump on my head. I'm fine. And she caught us and she was ready to run again. We were all very surprised by this, very happy, obviously. I thought for sure she'd have concussion, but she got cleared and she was back to run with us. So we were all happy for that. Obviously there's a lot of going through our minds, like how in the world is this even happening? But like I said, we are very happy to hear it. Mile 10 then, we kept on going, 9:19. We're still a little fast. The last thing I want to do is bank time. But, sometimes with the hills, there are hills coming up ahead that are probably going to slow you down, and you want to take advantage of the downhills while you can. And so that's what we were doing, because then mile 11, we see a little bit more of an uphill. We go 9:42. Which is fine. We had the time to bank. We had bank time, which is not what I wanted to do, but we had it, so we were going to give a little bit of it back. Mile 12, though, we went the opposite way, 9:14. Once again, it's. And at this point, also we're on bike paths as well, and so it's easy to. For me, it's easier to run faster on bike paths for whatever reason than it is the roads. You feel like you're in a tunnel, you feel like you're with the trees all around you, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I always tend to go a little faster. Mile 13, 9:33. Mile 14, 9:37, so we gave back a few seconds there. Mile 15, which is actually what I thought was going to be the hardest part of the race, because it was one of the hillier, I thought was going to be one of the hillier parts. We actually ended up running a 9:16, followed by 9:31, followed by another 9:16. Just keep going with that, though. And honestly, going back to the woman who was running in the red sweatshirt, she actually left us somewhere around the half marathon point, somewhere in there. And she actually went on ahead of us then at that point. And I didn't see her till the finish line. We'll get into that more as we get closer. But mile 18, 9:23, mile 19, 9:14. Mile 20 was actually probably one of the hillier parts, 9:44. So we gave back a few spots. Now, as you can imagine, during these miles, we are gaining and losing some runners. Consistently, I would say from mile 13 to 20, we were in about a group of about 5 runners with us, I believe, at that time. And I kept on saying to the runners who were with us, if you are feeling if you're feeling it, if you're feeling a little sporty, I think is how I said it, after mile 20, that's when you got to think about if you want to go on ahead of us or if you want to stay with us. I'm reminding them as we're getting to mile 20, I'm like, all right, this is it. Last 10K, you can do a 10K. The question is, are you going to do it with us or are you going to go ahead and do it on your own? At that time, we did not lose anybody, but we did actually gain one runner who was doing her first marathon. She had told us about mile 20, 19 to 20. She's just like, I've been trying to chase you guys down for a while. She was there and she ran with us for a short while, probably about a mile. And then she went on ahead of us, kept on trying to go back. And I'll get to her more later. Mile 21, we were at 9:38. Mile 22, 9:37. Mile 23, 9:29. Now we're at the 5K point to go. And this is where I'm really saying, all right, if you're feeling it, now is the time for you to go. Get whatever time you can. We had a first-time marathoner who had been with us all the way up until this point, all the way mile 23. I was just so glad to see that he kept with us. This is actually his hometown race. At one point, I guess we were only a few blocks away from his house, so his wife and his children are out there. He did stop to say hi to them a couple times, just kind of as we ran by. And then there was another gentleman who is more experienced in the marathon than he was. I can't remember how many marathons he says he's ran, but I think it's somewhere close to what I've done, and I'm at 39 right now. Them two decided to go. They pushed each other the last 5K, and once again they hit it out of the park with the way they finished that race. Honestly, for the last 5K, we did not have anybody with us. We either lost them, unfortunately, which from what I've seen in results, they all finished. They all did very well for themselves. Marathon's one of those things. You never know how your day is going to go, and that last 5K can be brutal. But we also had 3 or 4 people go ahead of us at the finish, which is what we want to see. We want to be able to see them finish strong. Going back to the one woman who caught us at mile 19 or mile 20, we did end up finding her again, probably about mile 24, 25. And once again, at this point, we are still probably about a minute up. And so we had the time to burn. And so we actually, me and my partner, we actually kind of stayed with her. She had a friend that kind of ran a little bit with her, met her out in the course, ran the last 2 of the last 3 miles with her. And about mile 25, that friend peeled off. And so that's when we decided, okay, we're going to push her in. We got the time. There is no worries. Mile 24 was about 9:40. Mile 25, we went 9:31, so we're still right back on pace. Mile 26, then 9:26. We are there. We encouraged the female runner who was with us to go kick it in that last 0.2 of a mile. And she did. And at that point, I'm like, okay, we are still just a little bit fast. So I look behind me and I see another runner who's probably about 20 to 30 meters behind us. And so I honestly just stopped outside the football stadium where we were running in, and I just turned around and just yelled for him, come on, let's go. Let's finish this strong. And sure enough, he picked it up, and we got him to finish in front of us. And me and my partner, it doesn't always happen this way where both partners are able to finish, but given the weather, given the day that we had, I think a lot of pacers actually did finish together. We finished in a 4:09:06. So we were 54 seconds ahead. And I told my co-pacer, which was actually her first time ever pacing, that we want to be within a minute. A minute is good. That's what you want. And so, I just wanted to reassure, we did what we needed to do. And for having a first-time pacer, it did not feel like running with a first-time pacer. She did a great job. Now, granted, this is, I think, my 6th time pacing, so I'm no expert or anything like that. But if she did not tell me that she was a first-time pacer, I would have never known. And so we came in together. 4:06 or 4:09:06 was our finishing time. Overall, it was a great experience. If you ever want to get into pacing, and you're looking for a great first time to pace at a marathon, or even half marathon, they have pacers for both. Glass City Marathon is fantastic. They treat their pacers very well. Like I said, you got the jacket, you got the shirt. I don't know if they're going to do jackets next year for the marathon or not. We'll have to wait and see. They haven't announced anything yet. As I said, they give you the singlet to wear, which, singlet may not be that big of a deal, but for summer running, I'm probably going to wear that a lot. Also, they do have housing available. They put up pacers in a hotel room if they needed it. I did not, since I was camping with family, but they will pair you up with another pacer of your gender for you to share a room. You each get your own bed, but they will pair you up for that. All that to say, like I said, they treat their pacers well. It was a great experience. I would highly recommend it if you are looking for a pacing opportunity. Glass City Marathon, Toledo, Ohio. It is going to be, I can't remember the exact date, but it is the last Sunday of April next year. So check them out. If you need a fast course to get your Boston qualifier, or you want to set a new PR, once again, Glass City Marathon. I forgot how beautiful and how fast this course is. It's been 5 years since I ran it. It is beautiful. It is well worth the time and the drive for me to get there. It's just a great race, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Oh, and this is the finishers medal that they give everybody. So there's the Glass City Marathon logo there on the front. The bridge, this is the bridge in Toledo that is depicted on the medal. Honestly, we do not run across that bridge. We don't even get that close to the bridge. You don't ever see it. It's just a landmark in Toledo, Ohio. Believe me, it's a good thing we don't run in downtown Toledo. That would not be very scenic. But they utilize a lot of bike paths and really some really nice neighborhoods. And the crowd support in the neighborhoods from the people who live there is fantastic as well. So highly encourage you to do Glass City Marathon if you have never done it before. It's a great race. And I can't speak highly enough of it. So with all that being said, thank you very much. If you have any questions or anything about my experience, please leave those in the comments below and I will answer those. But if you made it to this point in the video, thank you very much. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.